We've got something huge to talk about. It's taken over the internet, and everybody is talking about this. Disney Plus, massive successful launch. Problems, of course, because how do you sort of reconcile that 10 million people want to sign up for your thing on day one? Lots of people having trouble with logging on, lots of hacked accounts being sold already on the internet, and some very, very big releases launched with this service, and of course the chief one, the one that's on the main page, at least for me. I don't know if algorithmically it serves up different front pages for different people, but The Mandalorian is front and center. I reviewed the first episode. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I have since seen episode 2 3 times, and I freaking adore this show. And I think it may be one of the smartest television shows I have ever seen in my life. First of all, let's talk about the running time on this series, which is hovering just over 30 minutes long, and that feels like, man, I want my money's worth. I want a longer show. I want a meatier, chunky show. How do you tell a story in that amount of time? Well, if you don't have characters that have a lot of dialogue, guess what? You can do a lot of your storytelling through action and through, cutting the chaff and just getting right from cool beat to cool beat to cool beat. And it's incredibly adept at navigating from a moment that's going to resonate to another moment that's going to resonate. There's no wasted space. And I'm not suggesting that we don't need quieter shows or moments of introspection or shows that give us some deeper character study. This isn't Breaking Bad. But what it does do is that it taps into nostalgia, clearly, but it also taps into a nostalgia that we wanted, And it's what's interesting about this series is that even though the show length and the episodic length can be short, you can watch reviews of each of these episodes that are longer than the actual running time of the show, because there's a lot of information in every episode, and a lot teased, and a lot for us to sort of grapple onto, not to use the grappling hook pun there. But it is a great sort of realization of the dream of Boba Fett, and I mentioned that in the first episode. But how clever is it that all of the people behind the scenes sidestepped the mire of the Jango Fett, Boba Fett kind of crossover and all of the lineage there and the expectation there. They fleshed out a species that was indelible from the moment that we first saw that Boba Fett helmet. Right away, the lore was captivating. We were creating it in our minds and in our imagination. So what they've done is they've been able to anchor the show in some really cool mythology just by kind of a natural following of the course of events that would happen for a species that has a religion based on weaponry, as the Mandalorian says in this second episode. Of course, the Baby Yoda is readily available on the internet now. The GIFs are huge. The memes are huge. That was the big reveal. That's why Disney Plus in the packet of pre-release shows that they were sending out to reviewers, The Mandalorian Episode 1 was not included in those. They didn't want any spoilers out there because it's a pretty big reveal. And of course, in Episode 2, we start to see that this Baby Yoda, or this baby from Yoda's species, has some really incredible force powers and force abilities. And that dichotomy, that juxtaposition of character between this little beatific, peace-loving, little tiny creature and this gruff, ready to kill anything bounty hunter, it just, those two together is just an incredible image, And I love the moments where we do get the long shots and we see the two characters sort of walking through the rocky desert, and we get the sunset and everything. It's so evocative, and it's so obviously paying homage to a million westerns, but in such a beautiful way, And same with the anthemic, bombastic music that plays throughout this thing, which at first was a little off-putting. It's like, this doesn't sound or feel exactly like the Star Wars that I know. But then you start to recognize that what they did is they drilled down on the broken world of Star Wars, and they have lots and lots of busted machinery. And in the second episode, we get to spend a little bit more time with the Jawas that were teased in the very first episode. We get a little glimpse of the Jawas in the first episode, but in this one, we actually get the Jawas in the Sandcrawler, and we get to see that. And I had never really put this together before, but the Sandcrawlers to scale for the Jawas. It's massive and huge in the original Star Wars movie. But when you actually put a human that's 6 feet tall inside of the Jawa vehicle, he's cramped for space, and climbing up it and everything. It was almost like he was climbing a giant Jawa toy in a way. And it was just such a fun piece of cinema, to watch that. And also the tip of the hat or the tip of the fedora to Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, where he rolls off of the wheel. Just incredible stuff like that. So it's brilliant from an aesthetic kind of sensibility. It's brilliant from a nostalgic kind of sensibility. But it's also incredibly savvy with its brevity and with these, I think because it's engineered to be short, these characters are massive and they resonate, and they're performed by unbelievably cool actors. The fact that Nick Nolte is already created a catchphrase that everybody's using. I have spoken, and I don't even know what his character's name is, but he's an unforgettable character. He's fantastic in the show, and I love the action sequences. I love that even though we've got a guy in tons of armor, and he, Pedro Pascal never takes his helmet off, he's still incredibly agile and mobile, and he's got a natural acrobatic ability to get himself out of any kind of situation, including a fight with a couple of other Bosk-like bounty hunters in this episode. Incredible stuff. I don't know if because the surprise isn't there in the second episode. Now we're kind of just massaging the story and trying to unravel the mystery. And what we get out of the second episode is that this Baby Yoda is a prize worth pursuing. And the Mandalorian is going to have to deal with a lot of people coming after him and after this little pint-sized buddy that he's got. It's wonderful, this second episode, but I don't know if it is as incredibly shocking because as the first episode is, because that sort of came out of nowhere. And I guess that's also another brilliant thing about this show, is that we knew it was coming. We got little flashes and little teases, but so much of it was kept under wraps, and there's still so much mystery, and there's so much to kind of unfold. And even though these episodes are short, we hang with these moments, and they have weight, and there's a lot to kind of wait for and a lot to anticipate. This is honestly my favorite show of 2019. I can't believe how much I'm just obsessing over The Mandalorian. I can't wait for the third episode. I'll have some thoughts on that soon. But as it stands, episode 2 gets a 9.5 out of 10 from me.